Chairman. Good morning, Madam Secretary. Okay, Madam Secretary, now I know we disagree on this, so let me just preface my remarks by saying that what is a fact, actually, that we all agree on, and that is in another week, we will mark the 5th anniversary of what many consider the very tragic bombing and invasion and war against Iraq, and now what many see as a permanent occupation, and I see it as that also. Nearly 4,000 of our brave young men and women have been killed. Just 8 were killed this week. $500 billion and counting, could climb as high as $3 trillion and more. These investments, this money could easily have been invested in our sagging economy to address the recession, and it is an Iraq recession, and we have to remember how our resources are really digging us into a deeper hole in terms of the American people and the struggles that they're seeing now in their daily lives. And of course, there were no weapons of mass destruction. Now, I've got to ask you about this whole notion of permanent military presence in Iraq, because on 6 occasions the President signed legislation which we all agreed upon, saying that there should be no permanent military bases in Iraq. Yet, when he signed the most recent defense authorization bill, he issued a signing statement which signaled that he really didn't intend to comply with that anyway. So I want to ask you, because I asked Deputy Secretary Negroponte this, do you believe that there is a plan to build or have a permanent military presence in Iraq or not? Also, Ambassador Satterfield, I believe it was last week, indicated that he thought that there was congressional authority to continue to conduct combat operations in Iraq and to stay there indefinitely because of the 2001 resolution, which I did not support, and the 2002 resolution authorizing the use of force against Iraq. And so I'm wondering about the status of force agreement, what this means. Do you see congressional authority as being necessary or not? Because I'm hearing and we're seeing mixed signals from this administration on the permanency of U.S. presence in Iraq. And then the second question is, I wrote to you, I think it was January 10th, about an urgent request to take appropriate action to ensure that the vital humanitarian goods and services are successfully delivered in Gaza. In the letter, I indicated that, and let me just read you part of this letter. One of the most important steps necessary to enhance the prospects for success will be to ensure that humanitarian assistance is able to reach those civilians most in need in Gaza. I haven't heard back from you yet in terms of a response, but I wanted to know what is taking place and how you see the humanitarian needs now in Gaza, because it's a deplorable situation, and just basic medicines, food, water, you know, it's a situation I don't think that anyone would see as tolerable, and I'm still waiting on your response. So maybe you could answer some of those questions here at committee.
Thank you, Congresswoman Lee. First of all, Secretary Gates and I have both made clear that the United States does not seek permanent military bases in Iraq.
The Secretary will suspend. Let me strongly encourage visitors in this hearing room to not interrupt the Secretary or members of this committee while they're speaking. The chairwoman of the committee has made it very clear that you're guest of the committee, and we respect your right to protest, your First Amendment rights, but there will be no interruptions of the Secretary, and there'll be no interruptions of Ms. Lee while they're giving their answers. Madam Secretary.
Thank you. So, no, we do not seek permanent military bases.
Then why would the President sign a signing statement on that specific portion of the bill?
The agreement with which we are working on with the Iraqis is indeed a status of forces agreement, which is intended to give our forces the ability, the legal ability, to continue to operate in Iraq. It doesn't set force levels. It doesn't make commitments to specific kinds of operations, but it does provide a legal basis for our forces to operate, a basis that will not be there when the UN Security Council resolution expires on December 31st.
Yes, Madam Secretary, I understand that, but I'm wondering why the President would take that specific section out of the defense authorization bill and say, and issue a signing statement, really just subverting the law in terms of permanent military bases.
Well, I can only say, Congresswoman, that we have been very clear that the United States doesn't seek permanent military bases in Iraq. We do need to have our forces continue to operate there, and yes, the President believes that the President does have the authority to continue our forces operating there.
Will you come back for congressional authority for that status of force agreement?
Status of forces agreements exist with many, many different countries around the world, and they have not come to Congress. We'll continue to brief about the nature of those discussions, but those discussions are to give our people a safe and legal way to operate in Iraq. As to Gaza, I have personally been involved in working on that issue. First of all, we made additional money available to UNRWA for the Gaza to try. We've now about $148 million this year to try and make certain that there is enough funding, because UNRWA made a request for more funding. We have answered that request. But I've also been very engaged with the Israelis to try and make certain that humanitarian convoys can get through Karem Shalom and through Eretz into the region. And so, for instance, I was called and told that there were 80 trucks that were lined up that could not get through in the convoy. I intervened directly, and those 80 trucks got through. So we work these issues on out in the region on a daily basis. I intervene whenever necessary. We really do not want innocent people in the Gaza to suffer. The problem, of course, is that Hamas has taken the Gaza hostage and the people of Gaza with it. Abu Mazen is still providing 58% of the PA budget to the people of Gaza, but it would be extremely helpful, of course, if Hamas were not firing rockets into Israel. And so we're working with the Egyptians, we're working with the Israelis, we're working with the Palestinian Authority to try to help bring about a better situation in Gaza, but on a day-to-day basis, we work to try and alleviate the humanitarian.
Is there anything we can do to help?
Ms. Lee, your time has expired.
Yeah, okay, if we get a second round up.